Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, folks. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning, United States of America. And of course, good morning to the rest of the world. How are all the people doing today? I know we're doing fine. You know why? Because we are going to ensure that we are the ones who determine the direction of the day. Because you know what? We matter. You know what? We will assert our worth. We must assert our worth. Good morning, operating solo. Today in the studio is the one and only Jack Van Beber. Jack, how are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing good, Egberto. Kansas string are holding up, and things seem to went off a little bit on time. So I guess I'm learning.
Well, I don't think you're learning. I think at this point, you know, because you brought all this up all by your lonesome. Anyway, my dear brother, what's the word of the morning, or do we have a word of the morning today?
Yeah, I got some stuff here. A government that won't protect the most vulnerable people is illegitimate. A government that engages in war so business can profit and claims to be pro-life is two-faced. A president that won't balance an unbalanced court is not caring for the people. A court that doesn't represent the people is unjust. The people who put up with this are fools.
I love that. And you know what? What we want to make sure is that we have people informed, Jack. So that's what we do here. We inform. Because again, all of us that are uninformed share the same fate. Anyhow, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Title of the show today is HISD, Parent Speak. So in the beginning of the program, we're going to have Karina Quesada-Leon. She's been on the board at one of the boards at the HISD, and she's going to have her take on what's going on in the Houston Independent School District. Remember, this is not something that only covers the Houston area. This is something that's occurring all over the country with the attempt of the charterization of schools. And, they do it under the blankets of several different facades. So we have to be very cognizant of that. And it's no different here in Houston. She's going to discuss it. Then we also have a subject that is called unions. Well, let me give you the title of the show. The title of the show is HISD Parent Speaks. Unions Must Win Now. Charter School Industry's Goal. And of course, Paxton Walks. Karina Quesada-Leon discusses the HISD takeover. The public school system is under attack by the charter school industry, and unions must start growing and winning. AG Ken Paxton. What can I say? Seems like every politician is on sale. Seems like, well, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, folks, there are several ways to get the program. You know that you can, if you're listening on the dials, on the radio, you just dial up to 90.1 FM Houston. You can also stream it directly from the TuneIn application. You can download from your Android or Apple store and install that mobile app and just scan for KPFT. And guess what? You'll find both HD1 and HD2. We are in HD1 right now. You can also stream directly from KPFT 90.1 FM via our website at kpft.org, kpft.org. Just go over there, click on the listen, and you can listen to us live. You can also, of course, while you're there, say, I don't want those long drives that they normally have to raise money to keep the station running. So I'll just start giving now. So you can always click that donate button if you are at our website and have the wherewithal to do so. You can watch us live. How do you watch us live? Go to facebook.com/KPFT Houston, facebook.com/KPFT Houston. Alternatively, you can watch us on YouTube live by going to politicsdoneright.tv. I repeat, politicsdoneright.tv. And you can watch me today. I'm in a very just a red red workout shirt. But you know what? Sometimes you have to be in red. What can I say? Anyhow, and of course, you can get our podcast at politicsandright.com/podcast, where we have all the clips. And we don't get to the clips here on the program, which most of the times we don't, but the program is well prepared for you folks. You can just go to our newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. And guess what? You get to see every clip that we have, everything that we talked about on the program will be there. Of course, this is the call-in show after our interview with Miss Karina Quesada-Leon. You can go ahead and give us a call. That's about a 16-minute long interview. So we're going to get that started without further ado. Good morning, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, as well as Alistair Waters from Conroe, Texas. It's great having two wonderful PDR Posse members listening in this early in the morning. Anyway, folks, let's get busy with Karina Quesada-Leon. And let's do that right this minute.
Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Everyone in the Harris County area, a bellwether county in the entire country, is now witnessing what happens when there is a government takeover of an independent school district. Recently, the Houston School District was taken over by the state of Texas, and in the process, their attempt to what many believe is turning the district into one controlled by the private enterprise, private systems. But anyhow, above and beyond, today we're having Karina Quesada, who is a mother of 3 kids. She's a former elementary school teacher, and she helps parents navigate throughout the school system where needs arise. She is also, more importantly, a community activist and advocate that many of us depend on. Karina Quesada, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, look, one of the reasons that got me into calling you up is I saw a snippet of you, and I think it was ABC, and realized, and we're going to start sort of in the middle, realize that after this takeover of the Houston Independent School District began, that you, I think you were on one of the boards that that advisory boards for the school, you were summarily dismissed by this new administration. So I want to start there, because that contention is something that I think is something that it's blown over from Dallas, where he started, and it's kind of showing up here. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So real quick summary on that. So the District Advisory Committee, that is the way you get on that, or you have staff members, you have teachers, and they are elected into these positions. Okay. So it's comprised of that. Then for the parent, community, and business representatives, right? Those were always appointed by the elected trustees. Now, the trustee was elected, right? People vote on who they want to represent them, someone you agree with, maybe their values and their views and their vision for the district. And so then that person would appoint 2 people to represent that district so that the community was involved in the district advisory committee. Now, the advisory committee does not have there's no power to it, right? It's just an advisory committee. But when HB 1842, the takeover law passed, the takeover law, HB 1842, also has districts of innovation. Okay. So it came together. Districts of innovation is part of the takeover law. And so they, that in the statute for that, it says that in order for a school district to become a district of innovation, the district of innovation plan has to be approved, has to be voted on by the DAC, the District Advisory Committee, before it can move on to the board, the trustees, the board of managers now, and then they can vote to approve it, and then you can become a district of innovation. Okay. So the reason it was put in that way is because if a district of innovation allows you to exempt yourself from up to 67 Texas education code, right? Law, basically, like things like having certified teachers, having a limit on class sizes, having required to notify parents if their child is being taught by an uncertified teacher, duty-free.
In other words, it is seeking the consent of the peoples whose kids are attending the district to say it is okay for us to dispense of some of these regulations.
Absolutely. So it's wanting the approval of the parents, community members, and the teachers that are all going to be working under this type of plan. And so again, in order to get it to even be voted on, to even get to the place where you have it established, it has to make it past the DAC. I was on the DAC when we voted on District of Innovation plan back in 2021. I voted no. It never made it out of the DAC, right? That's why we are still not a District of Innovation. So Miles is going around the clear intention of the law of this statute by removing district advisory committee members who weren't on board with this plan, who weren't on board with the takeover. And so I got dismissed. 18 of the members now, of the members that are there, 18 of them had applied to be on the board of managers. Okay. A lot of these people have been very public about their support of their takeover and support of a district of innovation, right? And then now, last night, they put on they voted on the board decided who's going to be on this committee, the District of Innovation committee that's going to make the plan. And out of those people, I believe it was just 2 or 3 that had not applied to be on the board of managers. It's all just the same.
In other words, they're putting a whole lot of yes people on there that are not necessarily reflective of the community.
It's not reflective at all. It's going around the clear intention of the law, right? Of why you would need to get a district advisory committee approval, right? Because before you decide to dismiss all these laws, you can't give that much power to a school board and a superintendent. That's why this clause was put in here to provide some guardrails, some checks and balances before you go and do this. And so he's gone around that. He's manipulated it. He changed the district policy so he can decide who is going to be on this deck.
Okay, let's talk about the district proper. The Houston School District got taken over by the state, supposedly for performance reasons. It turns out, as I recall, it's only Wheatley High School that fell in the performance, that had a performance issue now, and that the school was actually on the ascent. Moreover, I understand that there are many other school districts within in the entire Texas, that are doing much worse than Houston has ever done, and they were not taken over at all. So do I have that correct thus far?
Yes. And so in 2019, they tried to take us, they tried to take us over. And then there was an injunction, right? And so they couldn't take us over. So then they filed, I believe it was Benencourt, filed SB 1365.
Right.
And so that allowed and brought in the mechanism so they can continue moving forward with their takeover. So that's why we're here. It's because of what happened in the past, not what is happening presently. So it's retroactive is what's going
okay, on. So they didn't care that improvements were made in the district. It doesn't matter.
It's not about that. It's about taking over a school district. It's about taking over a school district that didn't do what they wanted them to do. In 2018, we were supposed to charter off 10 of our schools. We didn't do it. We are one of the only school districts that had schools that could have triggered this takeover. And all the other schools went ahead and chartered off the school that might trigger a takeover so that they wouldn't get taken over.
So let me see if I understand you right. You said, in effect, this was a state bribe. In other words, in order to have a private corporation get into the school district, you go ahead and you privatize some of your schools and you avoid the state takeover. You decide that you don't want to privatize any of your schools, and the state comes and takes it over. And now we have in Congress that will be, I think, in the October session, they're going to try to voucherize put voucherization that would be applicable throughout the entire state. Correct?
Correct. In the special session, yes.
Wow. So, what
we didn't do the chartering, and then we didn't do the District of Innovation. So we were just being bad boys and girls down here in Houston, deciding for ourselves what we want for our kids, for our children, for our teachers, for our schools. And they were like, no, that's not what we want you to do. So they came and took us over. This is all political.
Now, it's interesting because it's not like Mike Miles had a success story at Dallas, the place that he came from. In fact, as I recall, he left a whole lot of scandals back there. And now he's here turning some of our libraries into prisons. Tell us what is the recourse that parents have now that this takeover has occurred?
I think what we need to come together and try to, I think the best recourse we have is trying to come together and find ways that we can some type of direct action, right? I continue to go to the board meetings now, not because I think that anything I say is going to move them in any way. They're just there to rubber stamp. I know that. It is there. I go there so to unite my voice with other people that are also in the same predicament, right? It's so that the media pays attention, so that the media covers it, so that there's press, which then gets out to more people, so that we're all understanding that you're not isolated over there, an island onto yourself, or maybe you decide, oh, I'm going to ask my kid, I wonder if that's going on in their school. And lo and behold, you find out that it's actually happening in your school too. And it was just appalling yesterday to Mike Miles's response after seeing parents crying at this meeting, talking about what their kids are going through. Kids themselves coming and speaking and crying about what they're going to. Teachers also coming and speaking, or having people speak for teachers that wanted to do it anonymously. Then also they were cutting the mics on the little kids. They get nervous and they start stuttering, or they lose their spot in what they were trying to say. And historically, the elected board never cut the mic off kids. Never. I mean, it's bad optics, right? Like that just doesn't, like, you're a board over a school district that serves children. Like, why would you cut the mics on them? And yet they were doing that. And at the end of this meeting, Mike Miles basically calls us all liars, that he had gone and toured the school with the board of managers, and they know what's actually going on in the schools, not what these people here are saying. So called the parents, the teachers, and the children all liars. We're just all making this up. It's not happening.
Well, it's good that we have people that are bringing the story about what's going on at the Houston Independent School District, a district that has been taken over by the state with the sole intent of finding a way to privatize it, trying in a way to turn it into. I guess what they're hoping to do is turn much of it into a charter school system. Karina?
Yes. Yeah, they're trying to. What's going to happen also is they're going to be closing schools. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's already in place. The wheels are moving towards that. What's interesting to see is that we have on the board of managers a man that has made over $28 million off real estate, the CEO of Camden Properties. That's not a conflict of interest, right? Mm-hmm. We have someone that works for the college board, right? That's the AP and the testing, someone that profits off testing our kids to death. That's not a conflict of interest, I'm sure, right? Like, it's really concerning. And yes, this is moving towards, either closing the schools or chartering off the schools. And if they close the school, then the building itself will probably be sold to a charter, and then a charter will pop up there.
So then the real estate person makes money off of the sale of the school, and the charter school system, or the privatized charter school systems, makes a profit by turning each one of the children into a money-making widget. And at the same time, there are no more restrictions because you have voted to make it an innovation district. And in making it an innovation district, you've foregone 6 to 7 different regulations that govern how these schools should operate, including having certified teachers. So whereas they claim they're coming in here to make a school district safer, to make a school district more functional and bring students out correctly, what you're getting is a privatized school district with no regulation, with little regulations, with teachers that are not certified. And as we all know, if you take a look at the statistics based on charter schools versus public schools in general do better. So that's where we are at university, or rather at the Houston Independent School District, unless Texas elects a new governor and legislator that cares about the kids. Is that about right?
That's about right. The only thing is the school district doesn't need the District of Innovation to charter off the schools. They can do that through SB 1882.
Okay.
But the District of Innovation allows for all these freedoms that are guaranteed to the charter schools for the school district to do.
Got it. Well, Karina Quesada-Leon, give me a little closer how you'd like to close this session.
I think I would just like people to know that to really pay attention to what's going on in the school, in your school district. Show up. Even if you're scared to speak, don't speak. You don't have to speak right away. But I'm sure that once you do, you go to one of these meetings, you'll want to voice your opinion, but be involved. Don't be afraid to speak up. Join up with community voices for public education if you want to know more information and more ways to continue to fight back, file grievances, file complaints. Get with us. We'll help you. We will help you file those complaints.
And how can they get involved with you?
It's on the website. It's Community Voices for Public Education. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
I'll put it in the blog.
I know at the Twitter handle is at Houston CVPE is the handle.
Thank you so kindly. Karina Quesada, mother of 3, former elementary school teacher, and a community advocate and activist. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, that was the story about our HISD being taken over. Look, folks, you can give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. And of course, you'll have voice whatever opinions, thoughts you have on the entire process. That is 713-526-5738. Look, we are an attempt, and this doesn't only go for charter schools. This doesn't only go for public schools being taken over by the private sector. This goes for just about every sector within our lives, from our healthcare to otherwise. The constancy in the attempt to privatize everything, and in the process of doing that, just making things special for some, while profiting from the masses. Let's go ahead and bring Harry into the conversation, and then we'll continue. Harry, you're hot. Talk to me.
Good morning, Roberto. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay, as far as HISD, I've told you my opinions and feelings on that before. When I think you stood in for Steve Hunter, was talking about, and then I talked about Joe. You mentioned Joe Clark.
Yeah, well, we were that was a program that the superintendent was supposed to call in. Of course, he didn't. I wonder why. Right. But let's go ahead. Continue.
And I think it's another This could be another HISD. And I like Karina Quesada. Everything you talked about with her is right on point. You think, and there was a woman, I think some weeks ago, who said, the Houston school district is not doing that badly. It's just what it is they want to destroy the public school system because Greg Abbott's goal is to turn Harris County blue because they want the black and brown people to get frustrated, those parents, and leave that county so that they can turn that county from blue back to red. That's their goal, and that's why they want to have, as you pointed out, turn these into gladiator academies, turn the libraries into detention prison facilities for these kids. There's nothing wrong with these kids. It's just that they are black and brown, and they want they want things privatized, and they just want them, like that woman was saying, they either want to move it over to charter system, or they just want it. They want private schools, and they just want to destroy the public schools.
Harry, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, as far as Ken Paxton is concerned, well, it's what I discussed with you and Steve Moore about this. When you have a conservative white man do crimes like this, the GOP, the Republican Party, just feels that the conservative white men are above the law, and the laws just don't apply to them. And so this is why I say I don't believe with a Nikki Haley or a Rami Flume or a Tim Scott would ever represent, or I just don't think today the Republican Party today is not ready to have them represent the party as a president. Because when you do that, when you have a conservative white man get off like that and not be convicted for any of those counts, it just shows you that they're above the law, and they just feel that party still believes in traditional America. And
thank you, my brother. Yes.
Paul Hardcastle was played this morning. Peace on Earth. We got to continue to strive for peace on Earth. I'll send Howard some requests on Paul Hardcastle because he's another jazz master.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. You have a wonderful day, Harry. Let's go ahead and go to Gonzalo. Gonzalo, come on in, my friend.
Good morning, Alberto. How are you today?
Perfecto, mi amigo. Talk to me.
Well, it's interesting. I heard about what Karina said, and my question is, we can cry over spilled milk. It has happened, but my question to Karina and everybody, including myself, but since my opinion is limited as a former HISD teacher, I would ask the question if the top guns in HISD are listening to this radio broadcasting station. What did they do to prevent this to happen?
Okay, let me see if I understand your question. Do you mean, you said it's spilled milk, which means it has already happened. So I think your question is, what can we do going forward? Did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're trying to see the problem now when it's a little bit late and the district has been taken.
I get it. Gonzalo, lo entiendo. I get it now. And I think we did speak about that in her commentary. She said, I asked her, okay, Karina, so where do we go from here? She said active engagement. That wasn't her words exactly, but in effect, she said it is time for us to get out there and be on, where possible, be out there at the meetings, in the streets, and take it back. My commentary was the solution to this problem is to get rid of the people who run Austin at this point in our history, because none of this, you're correct, this is spilled milk. And the thing about it is nobody wants to clean up this spilled milk because they want more spilled. Look, this is the next subject that I'm covering, Gonzalo, is a story out of Common Dreams titled "Expansion at Any Cost is the Only Thing the Charter School industry knows. And the reason I brought that in at the same time with Karina is because fundamentally, these things are done slow enough that people don't understand what's going on till it has already occurred. Yeah, the milk has spilled. What we don't realize is how much of the milk continues to spill, in using your parlance, how much of the milk continues to spill. And this story here that is occurring in Oklahoma and North Carolina are apropos, because what it means, Gonzalo, is this is where when we speak about the privatization of everything, I mentioned that we're talking about the privatization of school, even though you won't say it, but in October, of course, Abbott is going to be making charter an official thing in Texas, right? Charter school, public charter school, well, privatizing schools in effect is what's going to be touched on in October in the session in our state legislature. So what we have to do is starting to mobilize on this. We are the largest school district in the state of Texas. We have to use our power, the power of the people. They may get a few things through because they have that Senate that was able to make Paxton innocent, right? But come next year during the voting period, it is time for us to mobilize and activate. So what can we do, Gonzalo? We have to engage.
Let me make this clear. I'm currently a teacher of a public school. I have worked for Harmony, which is a charter school, and I don't have the best opinion about Harmony. I can tell you, but that's not the solution. I worked for HISD for 5 years. Again, I have my own opinion. I think the taking over has been for years. The news and the proposal and the active participation from TAA and the political maneuvers, but the day has come. And that's why I say don't cry over spilled milk, because unfortunately, I'm pro public school. I'm a father of a 9-year-old daughter, and I'm concerned about her education. Recently, I made a move to improve her math skills, and I pay a lot of money to a private institution called
Human, right? Oh, okay.
So that's not the solution, obviously. So as you have seen, I am pro public education.
Gonzalo, I have no doubt that
I'm with you.
Gonzalo, exactly. Now, let me just say one thing while I have you online still, because I think everybody needs to hear this, right? The problem in our public schools really doesn't start with the public schools. It starts with society at large. You can find in any school district with underperforming or failed schools that within that district, there are very successful schools. And it somehow always has to do with socioeconomics. The problems that we are having today is that we are not solving the socioeconomic problems and think that somehow schools are supposed to do well when the country itself, within sectors within this country, there are so many other problems. On Friday, one of the things that we spoke about is going to the root cause of issues. When we talk about problems at the border, when we talk about problems with healthcare, when we talk about all these other problems, the main thing is we have not gotten to the core of the problem, and every solution that we attempt are usually band-aids that enrich a few who are placing these band-aids. And that's all they want to do, place the band-aids. Because if you have a sore, a cut that continues to ooze, it'll always need care. And what is care in the private sector but not money. Thank you so kindly, Gonzalo, for your words of wisdom and consistency. Thank you, my brother. Anyway, folks, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I would love to hear your voices. We have several subjects to cover, but of course, you come first, and the subjects are all written. So if we don't get to them and just hear your voice and where you want to go, you can always go to the newsletter to read exactly what the program was supposed to be about. So folks, please do remember, this is your show. Give us a call, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I tell you what I'm going to do going forward. I'm going to first start with this charter school article, because it is something that should concern us. Expansion at any cost is the only thing charter school industry knows. And the destruction of public education remains the goal. So anytime you hear somebody talks about charter schools, remember that we're talking about them overtly destroying the public school system so that they can take your tax dollars, pay a substandard wage to teachers, and then take the rest as profits. Understand that. Anytime somebody talks about privatizing something that should be public, it's a way of saying paying less, reducing performance, and somebody, generally a few, pocketing your taxpayer dollars as profits. It's nothing more than a parasite. All charter schools behave on the concept of parasites. Okay? And anybody who owns a charter school, anybody who works in a charter system, please feel free to call and discuss this at 713-526-5738. I repeat, and I mean what I'm saying. Charter schools are parasites. I repeat, charter schools are parasites. And one of the things that we do with public schools is we try to make them as bad as possible so that charter schools look benevolent and people put their kids in charter schools. It's not the fault of the parents. The parents are always looking for something better for their kids. And if we can make a public school really, really bad, somehow then a charter school looks like an option, even though it is nothing more than a blood-sucking, parasitic entity that really harms public schools in the aggregate. Anybody associated with the leadership of charter schools, please feel free to give me a call at 713-526-5738. I'll be more than happy to discuss this in a civil manner so that all our audience can hear this at large. Because again, until we understand the degeneracy of what the charter school industry represents, we will continue to have these issues. 713-526-5738 is our number. Again, 713-526-5738. Welcome aboard. Eric Hayes is in the house as well. He says, why is it that teachers are quitting like cops? Because they're sick of what their jobs have become? Exactly. I understand that. In Panama, teachers were treated with respect. Whenever we saw a teacher in a grocery store or an almacén somewhere, it was like we stood at attention. That's the respect. Las licenciadas in the country that I'm originally from. They are the ones that move knowledge forward. And to see how teachers are dealt with here as less than, it's appalling. It's appalling. But anyway, going to the subject at hand. When an Oklahoma State school board approved what would become the nation's first taxpayer-funded religious charter school, Opponents of the proposal called it deeply un-American and a flagrant violation of long-standing constitutional law. And Oklahoma parents. Oh, we got Evelyn on the line. I'll continue with the charter school issue here. Please feel free to look it up at the newsletter as well. Come on in, Evelyn. How are you doing?
Yes, I wanted to comment about the charter schools that you're talking about.
Yes.
I worked in a charter school for a while, and I quit because charter schools now use a method that is very racist and discriminative to the parents, to the teacher, and to the students. That they call teach like a champion.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely racist method they use. They treat the students like robots. They don't have the right to think. I don't know why, the parents have not noticed that in the state because it's very racist method. It is teach like a champion. It's what they use.
Well, I look, charters. One of the things with charter schools, Evelyn, is that it has always been used to separate kids or for parents who don't want their kids with a particular or certain kind of people. And a lot of the things that they do in these schools, like you mentioned, is to try to get some people to quit. Right, I've heard those comments as well. The charter school cannot be discriminatory in the past. So in order to keep the population looking a certain way or being of a certain class, they do things like you just mentioned so that they can get rid of some of the kids, unless they need some of those kids for the state stipend to keep them alive. So it's all a business racket, Evelina. So I cannot disagree with what you've just said at all.
Yeah, it's really about money. People, like when something became popular, there is a lot of people coming in because the money.
Exactly.
It's money. It's money.
And money. you have to ask yourself also, why is it that they want to change standards for charter schools? In other words, oh, by the way, the teachers don't have to be certified. Oh, by the way, we don't have unions. All these different things within charter schools, you have to ask yourself why. And the bottom line is always money. We don't want to necessarily have certified teachers because non-certified teachers work for quite a bit less. We don't want to have certain regulations upon us because you know what? If we can have substandard buildings, we can have substandard whatever, because it's a charter school that according to Karina Quesada-Leon, that does not require to follow 67 different laws. Of course, those 67 laws that these things don't have to follow. Remember, regulations and laws had a genesis somewhere. Yeah, some regulations become outdated and should be changed, but their genesis had a reason. You know why meatpacking plants got inspections? Because people at one time were eating junk that was coming out of these packers, diseases that were coming out of these packers, pus, and all these other issues. So, Karina, thank you so kindly for having called on this issue. Anyway, I'm going to summarize what occurred in Oklahoma and North Carolina. The state has finally just thrown the towel in Oklahoma. Now, church schools can now be funded with public dollars. The ultimate goal here is that charter schools are the forms of privatizing your public school system that ultimately gives parents less power and can become, again, now that religious schools have been entered, can now become religious entities and officially discriminatory entities. 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. I have one, let's see, I don't have a lot of time left, so I'm not going to play the piece on the strike, but do remember we are fully supportive of the strike, and you can go to politicsandright.com/newsletter to see the 6-minute segment that I did on the UAW and the strike. But I want to play one piece here on Ken Paxton because it was very disappointing, but not unexpected what we saw going on. Check it out.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was acquitted on all charges that were brought up against him by the Texas Republican legislature. All but 2 Republicans and most Democrats voted to convict him, but the Republican senators voted party line to acquit. This will embolden every crooked Texas Republican politician to continue their mismanagement of the state. Our failing grids, our denial of health care, keeping Texas as a state with the most uninsured citizens, attack on women's rights, our attack on voter rights, and the plethora of failed policies will continue. Given that the Republican supermajorities in Texas has led us to a point where the will of the people are abrogated, only the Texas voters can change this. Vote progressives into the Texas legislature, lest the demise of the state of Texas.
Lest the demise of the state of Texas. I repeat, lest the demise of the state of Texas. When you take a look at how things are operating, it is something that you have got to watch. So anyway, let me tell, I have a story to tell this morning. You know, AI is the big thing right now, and everybody fears AI. The UAW is on strike because, again, they have not kept their salaries up, etc. But I tell you, this weekend I spent writing a ton of blogs, doing a whole lot of automation to make writing and doing my activism a lot more efficient. Spent a lot of time doing that. And in the process of spending a lot of time, I got very concerned with some of the tools that I was using because it made this one-person operation, this one-person activist that's out there doing blogging and some being on the streets, on the roads, and doing all these things to try to inform and keep us going forward. I found that there was so much that I am doing now that takes a lot of, how should I put this? That these tools are so helpful that we need so few people now. Because a lot of what I'm doing in the past probably would have to be done by 5 or 6 people. And I'm not kidding there. But let me go to Bard and I'll finish the story after. Come on in, Bard.
Hey, Egberto, I'm so happy that Ken Paxton got
acquitted.
Yes, acquitted. That's awesome. The George P. Bush and the Bush dynasty has been defeated in Texas finally.
Okay.
Thank you so much for mentioning that.
Okay. Now tell me, why are you glad about that now? Other than
it threw me. George P. Bush, they wanted him to be the governor, and it wasn't going to happen. And the ultimate goal was for him to be president, right behind his dad, Jeb, and that didn't happen. So That's great news, and it's great news for Texas too, because we can keep fighting these corrupt Biden lawsuits.
Okay, I'm glad that you said that. I want to not challenge you, but ask you now that Paxton is free, if you will, did it make your life any better?
Yeah.
How did it do that? How did it do that?
Well, because somebody has to take Biden's policies and all of these things that, Bidenomics that he's doing and all the stuff with the border.
Okay, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? What do you do for a living, if you don't mind me asking?
I work for Harris County.
What do you do?
I'm an inspector.
You're an inspector. Okay. Is it like water, land? What kind of inspector?
Water.
Okay. Now,
water.
Okay, good. Now, what specifically within Biden policies that has made your life worse, specifically?
Well, I mean, with you being from Panama, you should know that all these illegals are coming through Panama.
Mm-hmm.
And what I heard, Panama is being destroyed. They're being destroyed. They're just a highway.
Panama
to the
is.
US.
Yeah, in fact, they're going through the jungles in a province next to my province of Colon called Darien, and they're coming through. And a lot of the I don't remember what you call them, the guys who bring them over illegally, etc. Coyotes are doing that. Now, the difference in stance that I take, however, is that remember earlier in the program I said I like to look at root causes of problems, right? And the root, the facade is the people coming over the border. That's the thing that looks like the bad thing to some, right? My question is always
the root cause is the border is wide open. That's the root cause.
No, but what I mean is other borders are wide. I mean, a border can be logically wide open or physically wide open. We have always been a physically wide open border. If you take a look at the 3,000 miles on the north, or the several thousand miles on the south, the border has always been wide open. What I'm trying to get at with you, Bart, is the following, right? We sit back and get mad about these issues that other people give us an idea that we should get mad at, right? And what I want to be is on the same wavelength with you, because in reality, we are. You and I are in the same boat, no matter whether you accept it, believe it or not. And the things that I want and you want, whether you accept it, believe it or not, I can guarantee are pretty darn similar. And we are here fighting against each other. Let me finish. Last night, I was doing some preparation for the show, and I started doing some graphics and realized that graphics that would normally take me 2 or 3 hours, I could do in 2 minutes because of some of the AI technology out there. And I sat back and I said, my God, we are fighting issues about the border and all these things that have no effect on the real problems in this country. And Brad and I are going to have disagreements on issues that really don't matter. I'm running out of time, Brian, but I just want you to call in tomorrow. I want to finish this conversation because I'm going to.
I mean, you don't think 2-3 million illegal immigrants are gonna affect you or cause a problem for you? I think
I know, but I know that Brad, you're not a bad person at all. That's not at all. So don't even think that I'm going there. But no, 3 million people would be good for us. Yes, it would be very good. But that's what can we do? Yes,
One
sir.
last thing.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you came and you're trying to do it the legal way, but just don't bring your socialist policies and
that is what we need to talk about. I tell you this, let's not talk about labeling my policies. Let's do one thing. Call me back tomorrow early because I'd like to get into a conversation with you. Do we have a deal?
All right.
Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to Johnny real quick. Johnny, 1 minute, brother. We're running out of time.
Well, too late for Brad. The socialist policy is already here because I, an American born here in the United States, along with a whole bunch of other Americans, believe in socialistic policies. So the cat's out of the bag there, Brad. I have a list somewhere here of all the Central and South American nations that this country has militarily attacked over the past 100 years. It's over 40 countries, and Panama is on that list. I think once or twice at least.
Twice of you. Well, actually, the foundation of Panama was based on military action by the United States.
Exactamundo. So the reason I really called was to help people think of the charter schools in a different way. You know, all these fake universities like Trump University where they get
Hey, Johnny, I want to get to Brian, so give me everything you need to say in 30 seconds, please.
I'm saying it right now.
Okay.
These schools, these so-called colleges that are just profit mills, that's what charter schools are like. They're basically like that, except for grade schools.
You got that right. Thank you very much, Johnny. I will talk more in detail tomorrow. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, UAW went on strike, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Has the mainstream media spoke of why they went on strike or what they're striking for?
Yes, they did.
Oh, they Well, what is it?
They're striking because they want to make 40% more on their salaries, get a 4-day work week, and in other words, they want the same benefits afforded to the executives, which over time, with the inflation rates and the increase in costs of cars, they got 40%. These guys are actually asking for 36%. Go ahead.
Okay, you want 40% wage increase over the next 4 years. They want a 32-hour work week.
Correct.
That is unrealistic.
Let me tell you, that is how is that unrealistic, my friend? When if you take a look at what they made in 15 years ago, they are making less with that raise. They would be making less than they made in 15 years ago. Again, what the corporate state has done for a long time is they have continuously reduced the income of the worker year after year after year, to where it has accumulated to being behind by 40%. That's why the standard of living of the American worker has gone down so much. If you do this one step at a time, by the time you have to make up the difference, Brian, you are hurt. What I'm asking you and others who complain about the UAW is join them. In other words, it's simple. Stop taking up for the people who are ripping you off, the corporate state. Stop allowing these guys, stop putting the worker against each other. Tomorrow, since I am running out of time, that is one of the things I want to talk about. But go ahead, Brian.
Okay, my father was IBEW, and he hated it.
You know what?
Yeah.
Why did he hate it? Real quick.
I worked with a bunch of. Why did he hate it?
Yes.
Because they wouldn't work. They would not work.
Well, let me tell you something, sir.
The man that made a styrofoam pipe wrench and would walk around, and everybody thought that was funny.
Well, look, let me tell you.
I'll call back tomorrow. I'll call back tomorrow. Thanks, bye.
All right, thank you, Brian. You can always find areas where there are people that take advantage of things. We can't make that be the aggregate. Anyway, we got to get out of here. So I need to run to the control room for Jack to give us a final word.
Charter schools, bad. Making money for dumbing down education, dialing up indoctrination.
My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. I want to thank Jack Van Beber. Going solo, you were a big success. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how in this, baby, I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.